I'm tearing down this old Gazelle bicycle. I think it's from the late 70s, maybe early 80s. And as you can see, the rear wheel is gone, and that's going to my uncle's old bicycle that no longer has a third gear. I removed the cloth chain guard and the Brooks leather saddle, and those are going to my Union bicycle. The remains will probably end up in my scrap metal container, but it has a unfamiliar to me, bottom bracket. Someone on the internet linked me a video to the removal of a Thompson bottom bracket, but I'm not sure if this is a Thompson bottom bracket, because the video that was linked, it didn't move the axle when this nut was turning. And since I'm anxious to find out what's inside here, and since I'm planning to scrap this frame, I think my best plan of action would be to cut this up, reinstall the cotter pin crank, and put it in the vise. First I will remove this bicycle pump, because it's mostly plastic and it cannot go into my scrap metal container. Besides, it doesn't really work that well with an angle grinder, and somebody might like to have it. Next I'm going to loosen this up so the whole rear section of the bicycle can come off when I start grinding. It needs to be made smaller before it fits into my scrap metal container. Alright, I think now I can start grinding. So I need to make 4 cuts. 1, 2, 3, 4. So let me get the angle grinder. Alright, here's the Makita, and I will not direct the sparks to the camera. I will remove the front wheel because it is totally out of balance. And I apologize if you are having a hard time watching this shit show, but I suggest you go watch something else. There's plenty of videos on the YouTube. There's probably something out there that's better than this. I'm sure there is. Of course I need to loosen up the brake linkage. And there's the wheel. And I have restored balance. And with the balance restored, the grinding can continue. I'll put it on the side. One more to go. The blade is not long enough. I'll flip the bicycle, or what is left of the bicycle, and I'm going to make some more sound for the last time, and then it's all over. It's done. I'm sure this will be a bit easier to mount in the vise than a complete bicycle. There's a little bit of play on this thing. let's see what's inside of this thing. Crank, and this one is nice and parallel, so it fits perfectly in the jaws. And here's the bottom bracket. I need to line it up a bit so I can install a cotter pin. I'll give it a little tap with a hammer. Oh, feels perfectly solid. Now you need to put on your safety glasses so you won't get in trouble with the safety officer. Now this here is the left side, or the non-drive side of the bicycle, so I expect a left-hand tread, although I'm not completely sure if a left-hand tread would be necessary, because this might be a locking ring. Maybe you guys can see it better. Well, I believe it's a left-hand tread, so let's give that a try. And of course this spanner doesn't fit, and the one smaller than this is missing, but this ring spanner does fit. 27 millimeters, and anything is better than using a crescent wrench. Here you go. Haha, that was easy. And it is left-hand thread. And this is a locking nut. And now the exciting bit, we get to find out what's inside this thing. Well, we already know, a bunch of balls. A washer and a dust cover, a chrome dust cover with a couple of notches that line up with this groove, I guess. It's rather dirty in here. And I think this here is the cone, and you probably need some sort of special tool that can grab onto these notches, but it's rather loose. I can turn it by finger. Oh, although it binds up a little because of all the dirt. Time to get out the pocket knife. That is already terribly dull, and you probably understand why. I use it for all kinds of things, except for peeling potatoes. It needs some WD-40. Lubrication. I can see balls. Okay. I need another tool. A screwdriver. And that's probably more suitable than a pocket knife. Lots of sand in here that makes the thread bind up. It might also be damaged. Almost there. Here's the cone, and there are the balls. Small ones. How sad. But there are a lot of them. I count 15. Well, you can count for yourself. Not done counting yet. I'm going to take them out with this magnet. Here are 4 of them. They still look usable, and the grease in there is rather soft. I actually got 5. I got 3 this time. Four more. And another 4. No, 3. The last one was just dirty grease. I must say it was a bit disappointing. I was expecting rusty balls, because there was quite a bit of play on the axle. I believe now I can lift it off, and then the balls from the other side will probably drop on the floor, and they will get embedded into my clogs. I got 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 of them, so a couple of them escaped. Well, they can have their freedom. So here are the ones that I managed to catch. They actually look a bit gold colored, not silver. That's kind of odd. And here's a closer look at the axle. I wonder how this cone is installed onto the axle. Might be a press fit. There's some damage or wear on the cone, but nothing I would worry about. I'm not cycling the Tour de France hill, or tomorrow. Or ever. Actually, I find road cycling, speed cycling, rather boring. I always fall asleep when that stuff is on the telly. The scenery is nice though, and that's probably the best thing about the Tour de France. Great naps. Alright, I'll have a closer look and see if I can find out how this cone is removed. So I cleaned this thing up and inspected it from both sides, but I still don't know how this thing is mounted onto this axle. But I suspect there is some thread in here, and well, there's some dirt, but you really cannot see it. So I'm going to grab it with my plumber tool, and then hopefully I can spin it off. And I do hope it is a normal right hand thread, like expected. Here's a tool that I'm going to use, and I don't care for damage. Because this is only to satisfy my own curiosity. Alright, let's see if I can turn this thing. Easy. Some lubrication. It doesn't hurt. And there are no flats on this cone, so I cannot really use a spanner. There must be a nicer way to remove this thing, because this is a bit drastic. Must be a fine thread. I'll switch tool because this thing is clumsy. I still need to squeeze the pliers rather hard, otherwise they slip. Well, this tool is also clumsy. Maybe some sort of strap would work better. Something that you would use to spin off an oil filter. Okay, I think my first choice was the best one. Maybe it's already off the thread, but it isn't sliding on the axle. I guess then I will be here all night. Because it still feels rather tight. No way I can turn this by hand. I just had a look on the underside and it didn't move 1 millimeter. So I guess it's a press fit and not a thread. And that means it's hammer time. Here you can see that the cone hasn't moved at all. It is still sitting at the same position. Alright, next I'm going to remove the cotter pin and then I will try to hammer this out or off. Let's find out what a hammer can do. It is moving. All in the name of science and fun and curiosity. And here's proof that it did come off. So next I want to have a look at these cups. I suspect they are also a press fit. But well, I'll clean up the grease and then we will find out. I cleaned off most of the dirt and rust, and I still don't know. There is something here that kinda looks like thread, but I still think it is pressed in. Otherwise there would be something to grab the cup, and there isn't. So, in the name of science and interest and discovery, I suggest we grind this thing into half. It's kind of fun. Nice sparks. Alright, safety goggles on. Here come the sparks. Okay, I think that should do it. No need to grind all the way through the cups. Now let's flip this thing. A beautiful cut in the name of science. If I want this next cut to be on the other side, I need to grind through this tube here. That'll be a bit awkward. So I'll try and cut this off before I start cutting the other side. More sparks for you guys. And this time I'm using my earmuffs because this thing is loud. Here we go. Beautiful photogenic sparks. I think this thing will be hot. It was smoking after all. Yeah, it isn't that hot after all. Those smoke signals were just for show. Let's go. A little bit of tube still left in there. Last bit of grinding, I promise. I think, but I hope that's enough. It definitely was enough. Joy. So here's something you don't see every day. A split open bottom bracket. I think there must be a special tool to unpress these cups. But yeah, I don't have one of those. I have an angle grinder. And it makes pretty sparks. And a lot of sound. Well, I hope you somewhat enjoyed my little dissecting job. It was fun and my curiosity was satisfied. If you can confirm that this is in fact a Thompson bottom bracket, put it in the comments below the video. I would love to hear from you. And if you want to see some detailed pictures, there's a link to my Google photo album in there as well. Anyway, that's it for this little shit show. To be continued. And it's the end for this bottom bracket. More will follow. Too bad I don't own a trash compactor. But I'm sure this will fit inside my scrap metal container as well. And I know it's kind of sad, but I guess everything in life must die at some point. But rest assured, some of the parts, or the wheels, or one wheel, it will keep on rolling inside my uncle's old bicycle. There's not much left now, huh? You there, please stop crying. The sun is shining.